Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Hey folks, welcome to the program tonight. Thank you for coming in. This is Scotty Roberts, as of course you all know, and this is my show, the Intrepid radio program, right here on the Odyssey Radio Network, and also broadcasting here on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Mr. Scotty Roberts. And if you want to see more about Odyssey Radio, go on over to ODYSY1.com. Check them out, see what they're all about, and you can see other broadcasts of this show interspersed throughout the day. Go check their schedule. You'll see what time those are on. And I want to thank you all for coming in here tonight. I appreciate your presence. It is Wednesday, August 25th. There's a lot going on in our world. There's a lot going on in everybody's personal lives. And so I hope you're all doing well with your little bit of the world today and how things are affecting you and how things are going on. You take a look at the world around you, and it's really hard to be able to sometimes to balance what we know and what we know is common sense and what we know is good with what we see going on out there. And I've got a little personal issue that I've brought up before on the show that I want to bring up. And it's got me, I don't want to say it's got me thrown off because, I'm a big boy, I wear my big boy pants and all of that. But it's an issue that I spoke about with my friend who was accused of raping a girl. And of course, I believe him. He is not somebody that I would ever see having done anything like this. I've known him for 20 to 25 years, and he's a friend of mine. I know his wife supports him, and we've been through all that story before. And there's something that's very interesting going on. He was a high-profile character at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, a very high profile. As a matter of fact, his abilities, he was almost raised out there. I think he was there when he's a couple of years older than I am, yet he's been out there since I think he was a child, when the fair itself was in its infancy. And his mother was out there and all of that. And so he grew up there. He is an entertainer, an actor. He's a writer. He's an intellectual. He is somebody who turned his abilities playing on the street out there, which is the kind of acting you do out at the Renaissance Festival. It's you play the streets as a character. And he turned that into writing books and business books and how to be a top performer in business. And he took several of the people from the Renaissance Festival with him out to do, they traveled to different companies, different shows, and they put on these events for how to make your business grow, how to do. It wasn't just a rah, another business management thing. It was a very different stroke. And he also was a voice talent for radio, a photographer, all of these different things. And he became the creative director for the festival a long time back. And before I was resigned out of the place. And then 3 years, and as you can imagine, by the way, somebody who has that kind of power in a Renaissance festival, I mean, let's put it all in perspective. He wasn't the CEO of a huge corporation or anything. He was the creative director of a Renaissance festival. And of course, most of the people who work out at Renaissance festivals in the acting department, the entertainment department, they didn't make very much money. You know, they made $50 for the run of show plus a few food books. And you had other entertainers who made a lot more than that, significantly much more than that. It all depended on what they were doing at the festival. The guy who played the king, of course, made more money than other people. It's because of the role he had to maintain throughout 24 hours a day out there. And, well, not 24 hours, but I digress. So my friend was the creative director there. He and his wife bought one of the booths out there, a coffee booth, and they had his character on the street was the rat catcher. And he played this grizzled character, that gross kind of character that did antics out on the street. And so they named their place the Rat Catcher Coffee. And so we used to go there every morning and sometimes a couple of times throughout the day to coffee up and get a depth charge, in the mornings and get our blood flowing. Well, anyway, as you know, and I've mentioned before, I retired, using that word lightly, out of festival back in 2007 was my last year there. 2005 was actually my last active year out there. And then I skipped a year, and then I came back in 2007 and did readings of Tam O'Hare in costume on the children's stage out there and stuff like that. That was all under his auspices. He wanted me to come out and do that. And so we've been friends over the years. And as I have told you before, if you're a regular listener to this show, he was accused by someone of raping them. And which all by itself is a bad charge. He had the misfortune of also being charged at the same time the Me Too movement was rising up. Justice Kavanaugh was going through confirmation hearings for the Supreme Court, and with Ford resisting what's the word I'm looking for? Testifying that he had raped her back when he was a teenager in high school. And so all of these things were happening at the same time. And the Me Too movement was brand new, and then this all came out. This was 3 years ago. And, of course, my friend, I believe him. I believe he did not do this. People would ask, well, why would a woman make a charge like this if it isn't true? Well, it all depends on what perhaps the payoff is for them, perhaps the situation, perhaps who's pushing them to do it, who has a vendetta, and things like that. And this is somebody that, frankly, my friend didn't really even know who she was. And the first accusation she made was saying the rape took place at a time at the festival when, and in a place that was incredibly active as a green room, and a place that was also during a time that my friend was involved in leading something else out at the festival, and he wouldn't have been there at that time of day. And then her story changed and stuff like that. And so we all know how these things go. And of course, I believed my friend. Was there any doubt that ever ran through my mind? Sure. There were times I wondered, oh my God, did you do something you shouldn't? I asked him, did you do this? Did you do anything you shouldn't have done? And he says, Scotty, I don't even know who this person is. And it took him a long time to even recognize who she was. And because he deals with so many people out there. All of that to say, after a couple of initial conversations with him and his wife, who I love dearly as well, good friends of mine, I immediately believed him. And so then he had to go through, he was booked. They held him in. Of course, they booked him on a Friday, which is what they do so they can keep him over the weekend before they can see a judge. All of this stuff. And he went through 2.5 years of continuances, of things going on, trying to get this thing. And it finally was supposed to come up to court. And the woman who had accused him said she had moved out of state with her small child because she was afraid of him and what he would do to her. And also, she couldn't come to court because of COVID. She did not want to have to travel up to court. And so the way this all turned out, the judge, within, I think, just a few days, dismissed the case. Now, it was with prejudice, saying, the facts haven't been presented here, but since she's not showing up, I'm going to close the case. He closed it off, dismissed it. So now I saw a post the other day in the festival group page, one of the fan pages, community pages, if you will. And my friend's wife still owns her coffee shop out there. And I think probably under the circumstances and probably under the behest of the festival itself, they renamed the coffee shop instead of Ratcatcher Coffee, because that character is no longer there. They have renamed it, and I don't remember what the name is, some banal name, and a coffee shop. And I saw post after post after post. Somebody put up a post saying, well, they've appropriately renamed this as they should. She shouldn't even be out there because she supported her husband. And then everybody started coming. I saw all these people. These are not the people I did festival with. There's a handful of them in there that I could recognize names from 15 years ago. But it's all these newer people out there that over the last 15 years that I don't know. And they're all condemning him, condemning her, his wife, for standing by him, and that she's probably as guilty as he is, and they're this and they're that, and they're all this stuff. And I responded to somebody and I said, I don't buy this at all. And I was being as professional as I try to be anywhere else, but at the same time saying my piece. I disagree with you all. I don't think he's guilty of this. I said, I stand by my friend. And I don't think I even got that far. I said, I got something to say about this. And then somebody was already all over me before I even stated what I believed about the case and said, oh, I took a look at your Facebook page. I can already tell you what you're going to say. I already know what you're going to say. And then the thing got closed down, or I was disallowed from posting there. And of course, this guy pulled the typical social media shrill thing and said something to the effect of 7 minutes after he made his post, well, I haven't heard from you. We're waiting. And I said, well, keep waiting. I'll get in there. And well, then they shut the post down, or he shut it down or something. So I came in and I answered this morning in a new post on that group site. And I said, I'm part of the community, and here's where I stand, and here's what I believe about this. And I am going to, just for the sake of this, I am going to tell you what I said about this. I addressed this guy, and here's what I said. And I talked to my friend, and I told him I was going to put this up. And he said, be prepared. He says, you don't have to do this, He said, be prepared for the backlash. I said, I wear my big boy pants. Here's what I said, folks, about this. I said, we had a brief exchange. I addressed this guy by his name, the guy who was challenging me last night. I said, we had a brief exchange on a post in this group focusing on the Ratcatcher Coffee Shop and its name change. The coffee shop post was filled with all sorts of condemnations and uninformed character assassinations. In your response to me, you aligned rape with political affiliation, utterly politicizing a post that was nothing short of vile mob character assassination of a man in an attempt to cancel his wife. In your responses, too, you engaged in the social media buffoonery of attacking my character for not responding to you within moments, as if I may not have walked away from my computer or been engaged in something much more important than hanging on your social media words. As of the present moment, either the post has been rightfully removed or I'm no longer free to comment on the post. In reading the rules for this group, I see that its admin has stated, if you want open, frank discussions, support, and getting uncensored news, then welcome and well met. In light of that, let me say this, the answer to your questions. I stand with my friend of 25 years. I do not believe he is a rapist just because a woman accused him. I stand with his wife, the owner of the coffee shop, for her love, diligence, and stalwart belief in her own right to stand by him against false accusation. These two people are friends of mine, and I have loved them dearly longer than most of his verbal attackers even knew how to spell their own first name. Just because an accuser's mouth flaps, and by the way, I was criticized for saying that several times, just because an accuser's mouth flaps and is bolstered by others with personal agendas does not make a man guilty nor his wife an accomplice to the fictional crime. The sad thing is that most anybody who knows them and has had an ounce of common sense already knows this. Why you brought it into the political arena befuddles me. Either you are, at best, completely uninformed, operating your opinions and decision-making processes by your political affiliations, or, at worst, you're just a dumbass. As for the rest of the people engaging in the lynch mob rule tactics on that post, your keyboard courage has left you bereft of decency and common sense. Were we all face to face after the cowards tucked their tails and ran away, those of you left would hear a lot more of than my polite spew that you see here. And that was my response to people. Matt Finn, you are absolutely right. Your assessment right there. Let's see. I missed something. There it is. I hate to say it, Captain, but this probably fell on deaf ears. Unfortunate these people assess their judgment on any social interest they see fit, as if they have a corrupted moral authority. Right. Well, Master Finn, that's exactly what they were saying of me throughout this entire... All I have now, I addressed this singular person in that post for what he was saying about my friend's wife's coffee shop. And I was answering his questions. And yet I have had, let's see if it tells me here how many, 192 comments on my post today. Now, granted, a lot of them are mine because I have no problem responding to people. When I would see people say things, I would respond to them. And so if you were to run away from the post and not say anything, everybody would criticize, oh, you can't handle this. You obviously don't know what you're talking about because you ran away. And if you say something, it's, I can't believe you're wasting your time talking to me. That kind of a thing. And so that's the way the course that this thing took. People were bringing up the Minnesota Department of Human Rights put out something on this case. And I read that. It was a paragraph. And they determined that they couldn't try the case, but they determined that she was to be believed. And I, of course, made the point that, who was writing that decision? The Minnesota Department of Human Resources didn't write that on itself. A human being wrote that. You would have to look into who actually did write that post. And So people are telling me to go find a proctologist so I can find my head. Funny thing about abusers, they don't abuse everyone. Let's see. I had people getting on me about using the flapping mouth analogy. What a complete way to prove that their assumptions about you were correct. People are calling me a narcissist, a fucker, this or that or the other thing. I had people telling me their stories about their molestation, and these went on for post after post after post after post after post. And there's a point, even I talked to my friend, and he said, "You don't have to do this. Just back out of that." I said, "I'll close it off when it's the right time. I'm wearing my big boy pants." I said it needed to be said. I had some people private messaging me, thanking me for what I said. And I will say this, I would have much more appreciated those people, because they're part of the same group of people out there, coming in and speaking up, as opposed to thanking me privately, but there it is. Somebody told me to stop representing myself as part of the festival community. You aren't, and your general behavior does not need to be attributed to us. If you want to make a mockery of yourself, do it elsewhere. And they're telling me I'm not part of the community because I haven't been out there for years. But it's open to everybody who's ever been out there who isn't out there anymore. I've seen other people on this. We're all part of the old festival community. But I'm being told that that I am not part of the community. Would I just go away? One person who obviously has no ability to dialogue or discuss has put up at least 15 video GIF memes of go away or laughing or this or that or the other thing. This is what went on today as a result of stating that I stand by my friend, that I do not believe the rape charges. And I didn't say a whole lot about the person who made the charges, other than I know her story has changed. I know she didn't show up for court and she blamed it on COVID. And mind you, this wasn't all that long ago. So, and I've got everybody, and there's a couple of people that came in and showed support for me without saying anything to anybody else. You know, hey, I agree with you, and so on and so forth, and so there you go. And that's out of 192 comments on this thing. So I bring this up because this is the society we are living in now. This is the cancel culture society. Not society. This is our culture. It's canceled culture. My friend they're attempting to cancel him. Just by virtue of the accusation alone 3 years ago, he lost all his clients because it hit the newspapers. This is the same newspaper, the Minneapolis newspaper, that had run stories on him and had pictures of him in his study, talking for an interview, things like that, and talked about his contribution to literature or business literature, things like that, that he's an intellectual and so on. And the same paper was then running his mugshots that they took. They arrested him the weekend he found out about this, kept him in jail over the weekend, and took mugshots and all this. They couldn't arrest him on a Thursday and have him out Friday morning. No, it had to be over the weekend. They had known about it for the whole week. And the newspaper runs the story because it's sensational. It's the big Minneapolis or the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, which is a very big business and tourist entity in the state of Minnesota. And he's very well known out there. So not only did it kill his lifelong career at the festival, it killed his career as a photographer in the city. It killed his career as a voiceover artist on radio. It killed his career as a public speaker and drained his accounts to nothing. He lost everything because of this accusation. And this is the current state of our culture, where somebody can be accused and this can happen to them, and you go out to defend them. Can you imagine what politicians who are attempting to defend something about the country, and you've got the whole mechanism working against them? The whole new authoritarianism that's on out there? This is what I saw in that post today. And people were telling me I was being, I don't know what they pulled it out of, that I was being a wallflower, a snowflake, that I was tucking and running, that, oh, I was feeble, and I was, what were the things they were saying about me personally? That I was whining and I was this and that. Now, folks, you know the way I talk and you know the way I write. Have you ever perceived me as facing an issue and whining or whinging about it, or feeling like I'm some kind of wallflower or something? See, that to me, that part was comical. And I told a couple of people that brought these things, I said, it's obvious you don't even know who I am, which is par for the course. I said, and somebody was trying, when they were trying to tell me I'm no longer part of this community, they were telling me, nobody even knows who you are anymore. And nobody cares about you. Nobody cares who you are or what happens. This is the kind of thing that was being said to me for going against their narrative on my friend. Nobody cares about you. Who cares about what you have to say? And so, you know what? That part doesn't bother me. What bothers me is they think that's going to bother me, and that this is the way they operate. And at one point I said, wow, I said, I posted this for one person to answer his questions. And I said, I've got 192 responses from how many of you have to come in and try to hammer me on details and everything. And you know what? There are details of this. I don't know all the details, because there are some things even he, my friend, is not allowed to say from court. There's things I'm not supposed to know that I'm dying. I wish I could tell you, and I can't. It's not my place to say it. But there are things I couldn't say in there. And I said, all it comes down to is this. I said, it's like that quote that is in my email, at the end of my email, and I always pull it up, from John Adams. And I said, folks, this is what it is for me. Facts are stubborn things. And whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or the dictates of our passion, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence. And what I was mentioning over and over again, it seemed in this post, was, folks, you got no facts and evidence. Well, she said it, so I believe it. I said, he said he didn't. I believe him. I said, okay, you're welcome to not believe him. I said, but to try to cancel his wife, to try to do them damage, and there were people wishing them harm and ill in this group based on not knowing anything other than somebody accused him. Yeah, the woman should be made to testify, but she didn't want to drive up for court because of COVID. So the judge dismissed it. She doesn't want it put to bed. She's frankly, I think, already gotten part of it put to bed that she wants. And she's got nothing to lose. And so it's a well-researched and psychological condition, and it seems many of today's entitled youth have it. Isn't that the truth, Matthew? So, yeah, it is called projection. This is how they feel about themselves deep down inside, that they don't matter. You know, I told her, I said, I said, I'm not seeking relevance at the festival. I said, I know my time has passed there. I said, I'm just part of the old community. And I said, like a lot of other old people that aren't out there anymore. And it doesn't matter to me. Then I got called narcissist and all that. So there you go. You got it. So, yeah, it is projection. And so there you go, guys. This is what's going on with those at the festival that used to be a place that was our refuge. It was a place we all went. We enjoyed. Dave Potter, I see you're in the room. That was for Dave too. It was a place we all went that we enjoyed. That was our family. That's where we. And now, because due to, I'm going to tell you this part too. And I may have mentioned this before in a brief description of the situation. There's a woman who has pushed this thing before the rape charges started. She was pushing for a long time to bring up charges or have him dismissed from his position because she and he fell into an altercation, a disagreement. Way back in, I want to say it was 2011. So 10 years ago. And I remember at the time, she was writing on some public blogging post and having people support her. And I was a friend of hers. She was actually a friend of theirs, my friend and his wife's too. She lived with them for a while. And because they had this argument, this altercation, she came out and wanted to have him taken down. And rather than support her cause, I came in and I said, no, I disagree with you. I said, this is my friend Carr. This is your friend Carr. I just gave his name. I didn't mean to do that. But I said, this man is our friend. I said, I disagree with the point you're trying to make. I said, everybody has altercations. You know what friends do? They care about each other. They go to each other and they make up. They make it work. And I don't remember what all I said to her, but that was way back 10 years ago. It seems to me that it was older than that because I thought, I see a picture in my head of where I was living at the time. It seems older than that. But all of this to say that this woman that was a friend of both of ours and her husband, who has a very high profile role out at the festival, they pushed this woman into making her accusation. And that's all I'll say about that. It's all I really know how to speak to, other than to say, to make the point that there's stuff going on that just isn't right. And in all of this, somebody's seeking their pound of flesh, and it's downright evil. And this is what our culture has come to. So, if you think about it, put out some good intents for my friend. As Matt Finn said, we're working on Harry, Jesus, episode 8 so far tonight. Not yet, we're not. We're getting there, though. Yep, you're absolutely right, Matt Finn. This is what happens when society has been subverted. And you're right. And going in there and speaking on that post today did nothing but waste my time. It was throwing your pearls to swine. There were very few people in there that had anything worth saying. Nobody wanted to have their mind changed. I wasn't trying to change anybody's mind. I said, I'm here to to stand up for my friend. That's it. And of course, everybody attacks you for that. And the only reason I kept up the conversation is I will not be attacked. If you want to attack me, you can feel it's an attack. It's not, because I can stand up to you. And then there's a point where you go, okay, that's enough. Done talking. Oh, you got to cut and run now. Yeah, if you want to believe that, you're okay believing that. It's your right. So there you go. All right. I've spent half the show talking about this situation. It's something that's very bothersome to me that this even exists. And I'm not the one that was accused of anything, but you know what now? I've been lumped in the same boat by all these people. I am the guy who's defending the rapist, is what I was told today by a couple of people. I said, how can you call him a rapist? You don't know that actually happened. Well, I believe the woman. And so the circular argument continues. I don't care what they think of me. I was told I was irrelevant. I said, think I care? Like I don't have other things to do? I said, this was a place I used to love. I said, I still have some good friends out there, some old friends out there. And I said, but this whole new set of people over the last 15 years, the place is completely different than it used to be. So it is what it is. Yeah, Sean Stroik, we are all lumped. Isn't that the truth? Yeah, they are not logical free thinkers, Matt Finn. They are hive mind attack dogs. And I said that in so many words without using those words. I called them a lynch mob. I said, you're a lynch mob. You're a mob of people that are all building off of each other. I said, isolated and sitting down and talking to each of you face to face, it would be a very different story than what I get when you're in the group speak. So there you go. What do you do with that when you have that? It grates on me. It doesn't bother me from a personal point of view because I don't care what they say or think about me. I said my piece. I said, here's what I believe. At the same time, I'm bothered by the whole situation, and I empathize with my friend. I could not imagine being in the place he's in. He's rebuilding, slow but sure. But his life and everything he did with his life was taken away because a young 20-something woman accused him of raping her. Barbie D, you're right. That woman should be ashamed of what she's done, what she caused. Maybe she is. I'll never know. But I think there are other people that should be shamed for what they did to aid in this. So, yeah, they're looking for a fight, Matthew Sainsbury. Maybe so. No, they're looking to take down anybody who doesn't agree with them. And by the way, I told the one person who said I wasn't part of that community, you're not part of this community. Nobody cares about you. And I said, you know what? I said, if I agreed with what you're saying about my friend, I said, I'll bet you would say, hey, haven't seen you in the community for a long time. So good to have you here. I said, but because I'm disagreeing with you, I said, I don't belong here. I said, maybe you're right. If this is the way the whole community thinks, I said, I don't belong here. So there you go. This is our world, folks. This is some of it up close and personal. That's why I wanted to share that. It bothers me. It grates me on the inside that this exists. That's all I'll have to say about that tonight. So let's take a little break, a little breather. I'll just run my ad for you. And let's take a minute or two, regroup my brain. We'll get into the Harry Potter stuff. So you guys hang in there. Be right back.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAlanRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, AlanRoberts.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Hey folks, we are back. Thank you for being here, and everybody who's in here. Barbie D, it's good to see you. Matthew Sainsbury, good to see you. Sean Stroik, I know I saw Uncle Dave Potter in there. Matthew Finn is here, and David Castle is here. Morgan Snow, good to see you. Michelle Canham Free, great seeing you. Delaney Pearl Jones, always happy to see you. Is Field Guy here? I don't want to miss Field Guy, I just don't see any posts from him. So Roger Rabbit's here. Good to see you, Roger. And there's Field Guy. Good to see you, brother. Glad you're here. Doug Stack. Glad to see you. Skeeters are bad there tonight. We got flies here. The flies infestation here. So I feel for you. The flies don't bite like the mosquitoes do, but man, they are annoying as shit up here. And they're in the house too. Every time you open up the door, 50 more seem to find a way to slip in. Scott Allen, good to see you. Glad you made it in. David Castle, I don't know if I said hi already, but if I did, I just said it again. And so everybody, welcome back. And Matt Finn says it's easier to fool someone than to convince them they've been fooled. Mark Twain said that, indeed. And so let's go in for the final 17 minutes of the show tonight. I want to hit on this and maybe finish up the section we were in last night that we left off with. We were talking about, we started getting into the section, is Harry Potter actually a Christ figure? And the only reason I'm bringing this up was I found an interesting book out there that I mention every night by Derek Murphy entitled Jesus Potter, Harry Christ, The Fascinating Parallels between two of the world's most popular literary characters. And there's always going to be comparisons made between heroic characters out there. You're going to see that. And, but the reason it's more important with this comparison is because you've got somebody who founded the world's biggest religion, world's oldest religion. Well, no, it's not really. Judaism is, but Christianity is just Judaism with a new twist anyway. It's supposed to be an offshoot of Judaism. A figure, Jesus Christ, who is supposed to be the savior of the world. And any literary references to him in the Gospels and in the Bible can be compared on a literary level to Harry Potter, or Harry Potter to him. So Harry Potter has become this Christ type. And we already went through all these things that were the stuffs that showed the comparisons. But is Harry Potter really a Christ figure? A Christ figure is a literary device. This was Killinger who said this, who wrote about Harry Potter's relationship with Jesus Christ. He said, a Christ figure is a literary device. It's a peculiar or particular way of shaping an important character in a novel. He or she may not conform in every instance to the biblical image of Jesus, but bears enough of a traits or characteristics to suggest the relationship and send us looking for important messages in the text. And there's credible criteria for potential Christ figures include these things. We went through this list last night, and this is kind of where we left off. This list of criteria for the potential Christ-likeness comes from an extraordinary origin, possesses a secret identity and dual nature. This secret identity, by the way, with God, or with Jesus, was that he was God. Displays a distinctive appearance, exhibits extraordinary powers, generates awe and wonder, gathers and leads disciples, saves others, suffers a sacrificial death, descends into hell, rises from the dead. And Harry Potter most certainly met most of those criteria, if not all of them. Other readers have been strongly opposed to this identification. In November of 2002, BeliefNet.com hosted an online debate on the topic, Harry Potter Christ figure? Professional Harry Potter watchers on whether J.K. Rowling's hero is meant to resemble Christ. Oh, that's part of the title. It was Professional Harry watchers on whether J.K. Rowling's hero is meant to resemble Christ. And although the debate ran when only 4 of the books of the series were available, the opinions given are worth revisiting. Now, Professor Thomas L. Martin from Florida Atlantic University wrote this. Leaving aside Harry's Christ-likeness for the moment, Harry Potter does conform to what mythologist Joseph Campbell would call the pattern of the mythic hero. Potter is marked at birth for something special, something great. Prophecies foretell the high destiny he faces, the various mentors and rivals he encounters along the way, and then, of course, the ultimate showdown with evil. And these characteristics not only link him to Christ in Campbell's system, but also Cinderella, Odysseus, Buddha, and other heroes of other times and places. Now, Professor Andrew Blake of King Alfred's College, Winchester, UK, agrees. He said, my first responses to Harry Potter were that he is being written, and remember, he hasn't yet been fully written at this point, as a redeemer. So far, so Christ-like. Richard Abanes, on the other hand, author of Fantasy in Your Family, argues at best, Rowling's novels are terribly derivative of age-old myths, legends, and stories. In fact, she habitually borrows from older and better told, I might add, tales to flesh out her stories. Rowling's work is really nothing but a long string of mini derivations dressed up in 21st century garb. Patrick Rothfuss, author of The Name of the Wind, which is a great book, by the way. I've got that. I started reading that to the kids. Look that up, The Name of the Wind, and read something about that novel. Rothfuss, Rothfuss. Look him up. Author of The Name of the Wind. He contributes to the conversation by expanding this idea of all the irritating literary games people play. Find the Jesus is one of the most wearying to me. Not every book has Christ symbolism. Let it go. People use stairs. People suffer. People have fathers. People make noble sacrifices. And in fantastic stories, people come back from the dead. Odin did it. Osiris did it. Sherlock Holmes even did it. Did you know that, by the way? Sir Arthur Conan Doyle killed off Sherlock Holmes. He went over a cliff at a waterfall. And the public hue and cry was so great, he brought him back. And so it takes more than that to make a Christ figure. Buffy did it. Spock did it. Hell, Voldemort died and even came back. You want good Jesus symbolism in a fantasy story? Go to Aslan in The Lion, The Witch in the Wardrobe. There's a Christ figure for you. Harry is at best just following a standard sacrificial hero archetype. It's a storyline that was old before Jesus was even born. That's what that author has to say. Author of The Name of the Wind. Now, remarkably, both sides of this argument rely on the same evidence to support their claims. On the one hand, those who don't see Harry as a Christ figure argue that any apparent similarities are in fact common in mythology and literature. And J.K. Rowling was simply throwing together ancient mythological symbols that have nothing to do with Jesus, because the story was old before Jesus was born. Those who do see Harry as a Christ figure, on the other hand, also see Harry as a mythological composite, an amalgam that's been put together. But in their view, this connects him to Jesus Christ, who is also in some way related to mythological tradition. You know, I referred to Maximus Decimus, what was his name? Russell Crowe in Gladiator. I am Maximus Decimus something, General of the Felix Legion, and so on and so forth. And I always referred to him, after I had first seen that movie, I said this was a movie about the classic hero, the hero type. He had all the elements that made him the hero. Now, he didn't rise from the dead, so he wasn't a Christ figure. But he was the one that was willing to give himself. He didn't want to die, but he was willing to put his life on the line to save the empire. A fantastic movie. Maximus Decimus Meridius. There it is. Thank you, Matthew Sainsbury. And Doug Stack says, Gluteus Maximus. Were you once a gladiator, Doug? That was my gladiatorial name, Gluteus Maximus. Or if you go to Life of Brian from Monty Python, what was it? He said, this is my friend, Bigus Dickus. And the guards would start snickering. The pilot would walk over, and he had a lisp, and Michael Palin was playing him, and he says, what are you laughing at, Centurion? And, he says, are you laughing at my friend's name? Yeah, and he looks right at him, and he says, Bigus Dickus. And the Centurion starts to laugh. Of course, he has him hauled away. But he said, that's nothing. He says his wife's name is Continentia Buttocks. So, Monty Python for you. Hi, Rainey.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm tired.
Yeah, me too. I'm tired too. You can say hi to people if you want tonight.
I really don't want to.
You really don't want to? You look stunning as usual.
I know.
So Rainey doesn't want to come over and say hi. So you can all say hi if you'd like. Everybody agrees that Harry Potter and Jesus Christ have a lot in common, but they disagree how important these similarities are or where they come from. In fact, the determining factor has very little to do with Harry Potter and everything to do with the reader's understanding of who Jesus Christ is. Is Jesus absolutely unique in history, divorced from common universal mythological traditions, making all apparent similarities therefore unbinding or irrelevant? Or is he related to those mythologies, either as founder or product of them? Of course, today, in light of Rowling's own admissions on the subject and the parallels in the seventh book that have led even Christians to accept Harry as one of their own, the voices denying the similarities between Jesus and Harry have been lessened. And yet the most striking question has so far been ignored. Why do these similarities exist at all? Why does Jesus, a monumental figure in the modern world religion, generally believed to have been historical, have so much in common with the obviously fictional character of Harry Potter? And now that we've seen the similarities between them, we can spot the differences. Can we spot the differences? The main distinction, it'll be argued, is that Jesus Christ is real. Jesus has traditionally been viewed as an historical figure, while Harry is insistently recognized as fiction. But does this distinction apply to the many seemingly mythological elements that we find in the Gospels? We've talked about these. before? Can Jesus' miracles be separated from Harry's magic tricks because they really happened? Or are we going to allow that certain features of the Gospels were exaggerated or intended to be literary? And if so, where do we stop? What protects Jesus from the claim that he is, like Harry, a fictional character? What do you think about that? Is Jesus a fictional character? Was he a real person like David when we talked about David some couple of years back now? Talked about David, the real life story of an invented hero? Is this what Jesus was? Was he an itinerant country rabbi who his followers later embellished who he was in his story? Was he the God-man of the Gnostic mystical Christians? Perhaps the real questions that we need to ask is not whether Harry Potter is a Christ figure, which is really similar to a historical religious savior, but rather whether Jesus Christ is a Potter figure, a composition of redemptive mythological symbols and philosophies. And so the remainder of what we're going to talk about on this topic is going to aim at exploring that issue. Now, do you understand that distinction? When we say, is Jesus Christ a Potter figure? That Potter figure, if he's fictional in Harry Potter, and he is comprised of a composite of redemptive mythological symbols and philosophies. So Barbie D says, what's a movie? I haven't been to a movie in years. Hey, Ruben. Did I see Ruben? Ruben is trying to call me right now. We're right at the end of the show here, folks. And, hey, Ruben, I'm just wrapping this all up right now. I don't have you in the chat room. Did you want to come in for a minute?
Give me a link. I have something to say.
Okay. Where will you catch it? On your messenger? Okay, I'll send it to your Facebook Messenger. All right. Hey, folks, we're going to have a little surprise visit by Ruben Fasthorse. Let me get him a link. And by the way, I was done with what we're covering tonight. All I was going to do was tell you what we're going to be covering tomorrow night. And here we go. Let me paste this in for Ruben. And as soon as he shows up, I will bring him in. But tomorrow night, we're going to start looking more into doubting Jesus, the ancient and the modern controversy. This is really going to dovetail into something quite large in examining the historical Jesus. And so we'll take a look at that. And in just a couple of minutes here, 1 minute before the official end of the show, we'll hopefully get Ruben Fasthorse coming in. So he's got something to say, he said. So let's see what's up with him. We'll wait. He's not here yet. So let's see if he has seen it. He has seen the link. So I'm sure he's going to hit that and pop in here any moment. And in the meantime, I'm just going to say that the similarities between Jesus Christ and Harry Potter and countless other figures do exist. They're out there, those similarities. But Jesus Christ is the only figure whose followers have faith that his life and acts, including the natural, nature-defying miracles, have an historical basis. Here's Ruben. Let's bring him in. Hey, brother. How are you tonight? Misu. What's shaking?
Cheers.
How are you tonight?
Daya wa'o. Lila washte walonahan lechia kiki. Do. Lechia Warwick, New York.
All right. That is where you are.
Make. So what I'm saying is, I love your there's kind of an echo in the background. Yeah.
So you know what that is? You're picking up my sound. I don't have my buds plugged in. So I'm going to turn my sound down a little bit. So hopefully it doesn't pick up on the mic. You're getting a little feedback from me. And we've got a little lag going here. So why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Can you hear me? Is everything okay?
Yep.
All right. What I wanted to say was okay. So I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. In light of everything that you're talking about, Jesus Christ, and from the Native American perspective, it's Christ was always a prophet. He was a holy man, but he was not the Son of God in our view. And my girlfriend is Jewish, Susie, and she sees the same thing. And so Christianity was thrust upon us, and the Jews as well, not accepted in this country. And so her being a rehabilitation counselor, retired, and then I'm still a teacher, and I've taught at Sitting Bull College to grade school, the whole gambit, high school, elementary, NYU, and finding that there's a great balance. And Scotty, you know that there is this religious aspect, which religion is man-made, but also spirituality, which is internal, God-given, Christ-given, Buddhist-given, Tunkashala given. So there's that aspect where we choose our own shepherd. We don't choose a vicar or a preacher or a priest. And those people that do need that probably need that, but there's people like us that don't need that. We
Right.
follow the internal. And so things like J.K. Rowling saying Harry Potter or H.P. Lovecraft doing digging inside our psyche, or Gandhi or anybody else, nobody's that unflawless in that way. And Gandhi was anti-black, and he put things down like that. And then there's other people that were guiding us. Mother Teresa was great in many, many ways. And then there's Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, Red Cloud, and they were humble. They were sincere people. They were working for the people. And we don't see that. And I'm not just talking about the Native American aspect. I wish I could speak for the people south of the border and then north of the border and the Irish and then Scotland, people that had a belief before Christianity, but it was forced upon them.
Sure.
Upon it. And there's nothing against Jesus Christ. He was great. He was a prophet. He was somebody that advocated peace. Many people believe that he went east among the Buddhists and learned that and then brought it back. So it's hard to say, you can choose. And that's the whole point about being human, is that you choose to decide, am I going to be Native American? Am I going to be Hindu? Am I going to be Buddhist? Am I going to be all these tribes? But humanity is based on an archetype. An archetype is the originality where we come from in our thoughts and our mind. Why is it, Scotty, that there is every tribe, every people, nation have a flood story. A flood story, and they have a creation story.
Yes.
We came from the same place. And it doesn't matter if you're black or you came from the Asians or whatever. But we still have things that bring us together.
Yes. I agree. We do.
And it's the same thing with Native American. Yeah. So let's stop conflicting and being political and just unite and say, and the whole purpose of my conversation that I wanted to bring this forward was, when you visit a sacred area, like you were in Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
you were in the Gaza Strip, you were in all those places. And then when you're in Wounded Knee in South Dakota, you're in the Black Hills or the Badlands of South Dakota, or sacred places anywhere in the world, you should always bring a gift. Tobacco,
Yes.
or food, or even if you have nothing, take your hair and pull it out and offer it and say a prayer. Because if you're not from there, then at least you are recognizing those people, ancestors, because we all have ancestors: Irish,
Yes.
Celtic, Scotland, Egyptian, Lakota,
Mm-hmm.
Asian, Malaysian, and that's just something I wanted to say to people out there, that take it onto yourselves. You're the priest, you're the psychic, you're the prophet, you're the shaman.
Mm-hmm. All right. Matthew Finn brings up something here, and I put it up in the screen if you can see it. I would love to stop. Problem is, they're not willing to let it go, as observed by Scotty's interaction. It's something I talked about earlier in the show. And this is, I know we have that desire for all of us to come together and all be of one mind and all be able to do things in agreement with each other. Why is there so much war? Why is there so much fighting? I can tell you why there's war and why there's so much division. It's because people don't want to come together. They want to condemn those who do not think the way they think. And I experienced this today. There's a bunch of people that would just as soon see me and other people wiped off the face of the planet, because then they don't have to deal with the fact that we disagree with them or have a different point of view. And this will always be the case. Now, the way it hit me this afternoon, this kind of division, was just in online dialogue. But as my friend would say, the friend I was talking about, who was falsely accused of rape, he said, some of these people would, if they could, would probably have me killed. They would lynch me. And even though he didn't do what they said they did, because there is a division there. People cannot come together on something. People, because of their own personal belief in something, will take that belief to a degree that they will degrade someone else, will disbelieve someone else, will create a problem. And so that's what happens. We're getting some feedback now. I'm not quite sure why. But so this is the hurdle that needs to be overcome. I think people need something that is greater than themselves to, in a sense, come in and put them all in their place. And I don't necessarily mean in a nasty way, but something that says, hey, your squabbles don't mean shit. You know why? Because there's something bigger than you out here. I have often said rather flippantly, with my tongue firmly planted in my cheek, I think it would be a wonderful thing if there was alien disclosure, and that we are the small kids on the block, the new kids on the block. Now, of course, I'm speaking very fancifully with this because we don't know that this has happened or going to happen. We think it might, but what do you do? What would we do as a planet if we found out all our petty squabbles and politics and borders and everything else, that there's somebody else out there that says, you're kind of the new kids out here. You need to unify if you want to be part of this galactic thing, whatever it is. And of course, I'm building on the fancifulness of that. Or what if the opposite happens? What if we're attacked? What if a presence from somewhere else attacked us? And again, it's highly speculative. It's stuff of science fiction. But what would happen to the petty differences we have between us and the rest of the world? The Taliban, ISIS, Democrats, Republicans, whatever it might be, Texans and Rhode Islanders. So all the different countries' squabbles out there. What would happen to all that? I think it would all be erased pretty damn quick if we knew that we were fighting for our existence as a race, the human race. And so I almost wish something like that would almost happen. Not that I want to be caught up in that or my children be caught up in that. But what if something like that happened? What if the positive side of that we're invited into a galactic federation that I think probably in some way exists out there, although I have no idea what form that really looks like or what it's all about.
Well,
maybe there are some people who already do. I don't know.
Scotty, two things that I'm going to say right now. It's already happened. It has already happened to my people.
Yes, very true.
It's not a galactic force. It was a force that came into our country.
Very true.
And we never thought that we'd ever have this kind of contact. The first European boot that hit the ground in Maine or North Carolina or wherever brought not just the white men, but brought disease, cholera, measles, smallpox. And so many people, long story short, the European people came into a place that was a ghost village. Everything was left because it wasn't because they were running away. It was because they were dead.
Yep.
And so the same thing would happen with aliens coming, and they would eradicate us by some kind of small, specific, in my belief, the same way that came to my people, the Lakota, Narragansett, the Powhatan, which is Pocahontas's people. I'm not trying to put guilt on anybody or blame anybody. I'm just saying, if we're thinking about this, let's just talk about this by saying that that's what actually would happen. And one of the ways that would kill America, I believe, that killed the Roman Empire, that was empirical, is from within. It's not going to be from outside. It's going to be from inside out. We're gonna die or suffer because of whatever people are here trying to make their point of view and their way right away, and we're divided, and we already are. We're at that point. So long story short, I'm not going to talk about politics. I don't like politics, but it's the same thing. So as a Native American man, and growing up in Australia and growing up in Europe and growing up in it, Lakota country, I understand Oyakachnik and my own language and my people, and you know that, and I know that.
Yes.
But I dance on the border of both sides. I sit on the fence, 1 foot in America, 1 foot in Native America. And it's not just Lakota, Sioux. It's also Mohawk out here, Lenape, Delaware, and then in Oklahoma, and then Seattle, the Spokane, and the Warm Springs people. It's, people forget about us.
Yeah.
They don't want to. We're the darkest mark in America. what they did to us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that to say this, that you have to think. I love what I just love what you said about what if aliens came. That's exactly what they would do. They would divide us and separate us.
Yes.
You said Texans against Rhode Islands. Yeah,
Yeah.
You could put a Texan against a Scottish person, and
Sure.
they wouldn't understand each other. The brogue and the Scottish rogue, and then hey, I'm the Texas, you know.
That was a magnificent Texan accent.
It's terrible, but it's English. But they would not. It would just miss. It wouldn't be like this. It would be like, how are you English? You know. But the English the English don't own their language. The English people in Britain do not, London, Southampton, do not own their language. The Chinese own the language because they're such a populace and they speak the King's English. Our English, and I lived in Australia, you know that, for 12 years, and it's a different English. Mm-hmm. And then America and Canada is a different English. It's similar only because of the Native American influence.
Right.
If you don't think you speak English now, ladies and gentlemen, people out there, don't say an English word like Massachusetts, Connecticut, Delaware, Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nevada, Alaska, Hawaii. 27 states have Native American names.
That's right.
And they tried to make a New England. They tried to make a new France. And they tried to make a new Spain, but they ran out of words. And so where Scotty lives is Mishconsin, but we call it Wisconsin. Wisconsin. Mishconsin means the land of dark waters. And up north in Minnesota, which is really Minnesota, dark waters, you look up north and the tamarack trees lose their sap into the water, and it's acidic, so it makes it look deeper than it is. You could be stepping into 6 feet of water, or you could be stepping into 2 feet of water. You don't know.
Yep.
So the Indians were very plain and serious. You know, Massachusetts, I tell people out here, it's not Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts. It's Boston, Massachusetts, the land of Rocky Cliff. Okay.
So
the whole long story short here, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
The long story short is that people have no idea of their home. And Native American is not a word it is for all of us, but it's only given to us by Congress in the last 50 years. Congress says if you're Athabascan, Aleut, Inuit, Yupik from Alaska or Hawaiian or Samoan, you're Native American. If you have this much Indian blood in your little toe, you're Native American. If you're enrolled like I am in a tribe, federally recognized, you're Native American. Mm-hmm. But American Indian is what I still use. And I tell teachers, college to grade school, American Indian is Indios. Indios is Latin for in God, of God, or children of God. So it's a broad term. You can use both.
Sure.
In order to understand ourselves as Americans, and I do a Zoom class like this Sunday. I will do it. I'll plug it to Scotty, and he can share with you if you want to join us. We have Native Americans, and we also have non-Native Americans that join us and talk about the issues, the present issues, as well as the language. Everybody is. I spoke at the UN three times. And when I was there, I talked about, America is so concerned with what's happening in Cameroon, South Africa, Guatemala, everywhere else. Yeah. But let's look at our backyard. What's happening in Native America? What's happening on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation where I come from? It's the poorest place in the nation.
You know what? Let's talk about that the next time I have you on. Let's talk about what's going on at Pine Ridge, what's going on at some of these agencies' reservations where you've lived. We'd like to hear more about that and see what's the state of them now and today. So maybe what day is it? It is Wednesday. So maybe by Sunday or sometime next week, let's have you on. Let's do an episode and talk entirely about that, the state of Native America and some of the most well-known reservations that exist.
True.
So,
I will say this real quick, Scotty. Thank you for letting me be on board and talk about.
Absolutely.
Kind of stepped off the issue, but I wasn't
right.
trying to plug my thing or anything. But I want to say this: if you're interested in my show, it's Reuben, like the sandwich, Reuben, fast space horse, fast horse. That's my surname, and it is the teepee razors, like a teepee, TIPI space razors, like you're raising something. .org, and hook up with me, and I'll send it to you guys. .org, and it's a 2-hour program, 12 Eastern time here in New York. I'm in New York, and we talk about we talk about the language for an hour, and then we talk another hour about the issues like Scotty and I are talking about.
Yeah.
But I love what Scotty does. Scotty's my older brother. I call him Chie in Lakota way.
Thank you, Misu.
I respect him, and he calls me Misu.
Little brother.
Little brother. And we're going to have a naming ceremony for him and his son, Sam, at some point.
Yeah.
So you'll know him by another name, but
yes,
it's great. I've known Scotty for a lifetime. It's been a lifetime.
It has been when you think about it.
I know. Here we are, and we're still friends. We're not fighting.
Yes, we are.
He has his own issues and ways, and I have.
Hey, no, I don't. I have no issues.
You're right. I know.
All right, brother. Let's you and I talk again, and I'm going to wrap up tonight's show. So send us off with a little Lakota version of "Live Long and Prosper." What would you say?
All right, I would say, if everybody wakes up tomorrow morning and steps outside, and I do this barefoot outside, my toes touch the ground here in New York or South Dakota or Wisconsin. And then when it rains, I have to tell you, but I get naked and I burn cedar and I stand there in the rain and I say a prayer song. But my uncle, Kevin Locke, who taught me the flute, said, a word unto itself is a prayer. And it's, I'll say it twice and I'll translate it. Midakuye oyasi.
Midakuye mudasi.
Midakuye oyasi. Midakuye oyasi. Which means we are all related. We are all related. That means yourself, your species, the four-legged, the elk, the deer, the bear, the planted people, the winds, everything that's organic makes us Mitakoye Oyasi. And then you begin to realize that you are not just, man's aspect of humanity is he's first.
Yes.
He's of many. And here's man. Here's man. Here's the elk. Here's the bear. Here's the eagle. Here's the winged. All the animals. And we're a circle. So that's what that means. Mitakuye Oyasi. And that's all you have to say.
Mitakuye Yuhasi.
Oyasi. Oyasi. We're all related. We're all of this earth. And then you're connected. You're connected. Then you were like this. Now, in that prayer, you're like this.
All right. Ruben, thank you. Good to have you on in kind of an impromptu way. Glad you made it in. And everybody, I just want to say to you, live long and prosper.
Prosper.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.